Open your kitchen cabinet right now. Grab that small jar of black pepper or that stick of cinnamon. Look at it closely. Congratulations. If this were the year 1450, you would be holding black gold. With this one jar, you could buy a massive mansion in the heart of London or Paris. You are looking at something men used to burn cities for, kill for, and sail across unknown oceans for. Today, I'm going to tell you a truth that is censored in your history books. The discovery of America, the maps on your wall, and even the English language you are learning right now, it wasn't about science. It wasn't about curiosity. It was about the stomach. It was about hunger. Let's travel back to the Middle Ages. The world smelled terrible. Why? Because there were no refrigerators. Meat stayed on the counter and rotted quickly. The only way for the rich people of Europe to eat that smelly, spoiled meat was to hide it under piles of spices. In the 15th century, spice meant survival. But there was a massive curiosity gap. No European knew where these magical powders came from. The Arab merchants who brought these goods to Europe were the smartest marketers in history. They created a black lie. They told Europeans that cinnamon was found on high, dangerous cliffs where giant cinnamon birds built their nests. They said you had to fight monsters to get a single stick. Why did they tell these stories? To keep the prices high. They had a monopoly. They weren't just selling flavor, they were selling fear. In 1453, when Constantinople fell, the land routes for the spice trade were closed. Prices didn't just go up, they exploded. Listen to this. 1 pound of nutmeg was worth the price of 7 fat cows. Imagine that. If you wanted a spoonful of spice for your dinner, you had to sell half of your farm animals. This was a high-stakes situation. The kings of Europe went crazy. They said, "We won't pay the merchants anymore. We will find the source ourselves." This was the start of the age of discovery. But let's be honest, these weren't scientific explorations. These were armed robberies for pepper. Christopher Columbus sailed his ships with one goal. He promised the King of Spain he would bring back mountains of pepper. When Columbus hit the shores of America, he didn't want to find a new continent. He died, thinking he had reached India. When he saw the natives, his first question wasn't, "Who are you?" or "What is your culture?" His first question was, "Where are your spices?" When he realized there was no black pepper, he didn't want to look like a failure. So, he found a different spicy plant and named it chili pepper. This is the biggest branding mistake in history. Columbus was a liar who just wanted to hide his failure. The competition between Portugal, Spain, and the Netherlands turned into a bloodbath. The world's first corporations, like the East India Company, were created only for the spice trade. They had their own armies. They had the power to execute people. All for what? To control the monopoly of cloves and turmeric. The key word you must learn today is expedition. These were journeys where 6 out of 10 men died from disease in the middle of the ocean. But people still volunteered. Why? Because the profit on spices was 600%. It was a choice between a certain death in poverty or a risky chance at legendary wealth. Now look at yourself. You live in a world where this black gold is cheap and ignored. We are so used to abundance that we forget empires fell for the turmeric you use today. We often confuse price with value. Pepper is cheap today, but historically, it was invaluable. It had no price. Learning English is the same. Many people think it's just a skill, but in reality, it is your map. It is the route that takes you to the world's most valuable resources. If you don't know the language, you are still listening to the giant bird stories told by others. You are stuck with the rot. The world was built on need, not interest. We learned geography because we were hungry. We learned shipbuilding because we wanted cinnamon. And you are learning English because you want to survive and thrive in the modern world. The history of spice is the history of human greed and the struggle for a better life. Now, look at that spice jar again. It's not just powder anymore. It smells like blood, the ocean, and power. Tell me honestly in the comments. If you lived 500 years ago, would you spend 3 years on a broken ship in the middle of the ocean just for a bag of pepper? Or would you prefer to stay poor, but safe? And if you think the story of spices is crazy, wait until you see my next video. I'm going to talk about something even more dangerous than spice: sugar. the substance that caused the largest forced migration of humans in history. Hit the bell, because the next story will destroy everything you believe about the sweets in your fridge.